And hello, my name is Chris Mitchell. I'm the Communications Director for the Granite City School District, and we are joined today by Anna Valencia, the City Clerk for the City of Chicago. Anna, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
Really look forward to talking to you and a little bit about your career. This is part of our Alumni Spotlight series that we do with the Granite City School District. Well, Anna, the first question for you is you're a 2003 graduate of Granite City High School. Can you talk about your experience a little bit growing up in Granite City?
Sure. So my parents are still there on East 27th Street. And I had mentioned before the interview by Mr. Twist, which is near and dear to our heart, although I'm a dairy bar girl as well. Yeah, I loved growing up in Granite. I had some of the best years, always walking around the park, hanging out with friends, going to football games, being part of the student council. I know they're getting ready to do their student council Christmas basket drive, which I know was a little bit different this year, but it does not amaze me to see the amazing people from Granite and alumni step up in a big way. I know Mrs. Ames had talked to me about they're going to be able to do more than they thought for Christmas baskets. And that's just the spirit of Granite City. And it's so good to talk to you today about growing up there and what's happening. And yeah, so I loved it. I loved my time there.
Let's talk a little bit about your time after Granite City. You graduated in 2007 from the University of Illinois. I'm also an Illini fan.
Yay. I.
So you were the first person in your family to graduate from college. Can you just talk about the significance of that?
Yeah, so I was first in my family to graduate the four-year university. I know my dad went to he did community college for a little bit. It was at SIU, but I was the first to finish, and then my sister right after me went to SIU Edwardsville, and it was just always instilled. My parents, always said, "You're going to college, you're going to college," but I really don't think I knew what that meant. And it was the help of actually from teachers like Mrs. Ames or Linda Ames, as she would make me call her, that really helped me figure out how to apply for financial aid, to how to apply for colleges and to visit them. And my mom and I picked three colleges that were near. And I remember driving with her. We were trying to go to Carbondale. We ended up in Indiana. We missed an exit. But I remember just applying actually to only three colleges at the time: U of I, SIU, and Carbondale, oh, well, and Mizzou as well, because that's kind of what I knew was around. That's where I knew people went. I remember always wanting to apply to Notre Dame, but I had someone tell me that they didn't think I would get in. I don't believe that person still is at Granite City High School, but it discouraged me. And if I was going to give any advice to young people, which is what I have been telling people now, is apply everywhere. Apply to a reach school, apply to a safe school, but don't let someone tell you that you may not be able to get in, because you don't know. Things are changing. You could have a great essay, you could have a great GPA or ACT score or resume and recommendations that would allow you to get into their school. So don't ever, make sure that anyone else tells you what you can't do. But I got into U of I. I was able to get a scholarship, so I was able to get a free tuition or tuition waived for my first year, thanks to a scholarship. And I'll never forget, we had a house fire that summer, and we got a call from State Rep Hallberg at the time, and he had said, come to my office, you won a scholarship. So my mom and I, literally a week after the house fire, drove there thinking, it'll be $500 or $1,000, which was great. And he told us that their committee had selected me for a full ride for the first year at U of I. And I think my mom almost fell over. I think she was in shock. But really, that scholarship helped allow me to get there the first year. And then through financial aid and other scholarships and grants, I was able to get through all 4 years. And during my time at U of I studied abroad in Spain, which also was covered by a scholarship. And I was able to meet amazing people and different cultures and experiences that really, widened my perspective there. And, I couldn't have done it without my parents, and I couldn't have done it without amazing teachers at Granite City High School that encouraged me and helped show me the way.
So Anna, if you had a recommendation for, high school students these days, there are scholarships out there, and it sounds like you did your research and you would recommend to, scour the internet, and there's money available.
Apply. I mean, please apply for scholarships, because I think, you think you get discouraged or you might not get it, but you do not know what is out there. And scholarships are really basically help me get through college. So please apply. I know they're time consuming, but they are worth it.
Let's talk about post Illinois. You jumped right into public service in your career after receiving your international studies degree at Illinois. Can you talk a little bit about some of the steps along the way prior to your current position?
Well, I will always tell people, especially young people in college, internships. The power of networking. It's not what you know, it's who you know, and it's true. And so that was really important to me, is to get local, internships every year, every summer while I could. And also I always, if I could take an unpaid internship, I always had a job. Whether it was at Gateway Grizzlies, I was, worked there for a summer, or, in the restaurant industry, babysitting, whatever I had to do to make some extra cash, but I wanted to make sure I had an internship. So I have to shout out one person, Mark Venida, who at the time was our county clerk. And my dad helped me get into his office, and I was able to intern that summer, my freshman to go into my sophomore year. And although, with voter registration cards and a lot of filing, it still helps me prepare to, dress into going to a professional setting and meeting people there, and, going with the clerk to meetings, and just exposing myself to what could be a possibility of, working in the county. And then another internship that really changed my trajectory was a summer going into my senior year of college. Again, my dad helped me get on a campaign with Dave Hella, who was running for judge at the time. And I, was just this college student coming in. I didn't really know what a campaign really was or what I was doing, but I had so much fun. I would, plan parades. We would get all the volunteers for the parades. We would go door to door. I would help with fundraisers, anything that was asked of a campaign, staffer, I did. And I loved it. And I got to meet someone named Robert Steffen from Alton. And at the time, he was the downstate director for Barack Obama, in the US Senator. And I remember graduating, going into my senior year of college, and my dad wanted me to go to law school. And everyone was like, go to law school. People, I think everyone, growing up in Granite thought like doctors, lawyers, that's, what success looks like. And I remember taking the LSAT and getting ready to do my personal statement. And I'm like, I don't want to go to school for another 3 years. Like, this is really not my passion. And so then midway in my senior year of college, I was going to go teach abroad. I was going to go teach in South Korea. And that was what I was going to do. And then spring of my senior year of college, my former campaign manager who worked, Robert, who worked for Senator Obama, called me and said, hey, my boss is running for president. You should interview for the campaign. So I remember getting my first suit and going to a Starbucks in Champaign and meeting someone from the Obama campaign and interviewing. And I didn't get the job, which was kind of crushing. But what did happen is another friend of mine, former Granite City alum, sent my resume. Her sister sent my resume to Virginia to a friend at the state party, the Democratic State Party of Virginia. They called me and said, hey, you want to be an organizer? I said, sure. Don't know what that means, but I need a job and I don't want to go to law school. So 2 weeks after I graduated college, I moved down to Virginia and lived in supporter housing and knocked doors 7 days a week. And my poor father was like, this is just a phase, she'll get a real job someday. Because I was living with like volunteers, and I didn't have my own place, and I was knocking doors every day, but I loved it. And that's why I got into campaigning. And, because of networking, because of internship, I worked hard, people saw it, they recommended me for other positions. And after Virginia, I came back to Illinois. And in the world of politics and special federal campaigns, it's a small world. And if you do well, people know each other and start kind of shooting your resume around the country. And so that's kind of how I started. So I always tell young people and those in high school now, it's never too early to start interning. Ask for a job shadow opportunity. If you see someone that you're interested in their career, ask them if you can job shadow them for a day. It doesn't cost you anything. And 90% of the time, the person will say yes because someone did something for them and they feel like they need to give back. And so have that confidence to ask for an internship, or whether it's paid or unpaid, just so you can get that experience and meet people that can maybe help you later in the future.
Anna, I want to talk a little bit about your current role as the city clerk in Chicago. You were installed in January of 2017. Talk to our viewers a little bit about your role in the city of Chicago.
Sure. So I'm one of the 3 citywide elected officials here in Chicago. And if you would have told me that, I was talking to my mom about this interview this morning. If you would have told my parents that was going to happen, they would have not believed you, neither would I have. Especially from growing up in Granite to Chicago, it's a big difference. But I, came here in 2010 on another campaign. So I went from Virginia, I came back to Illinois, then I worked in Michigan for a congressional race. I came back to Illinois and worked in Chicago for another congressional race, and then landed in the state Senate Democrats down in Springfield. And I worked there for about a year and a half. And a friend of mine from another campaign that I had done called me in October of 2010 when I lived in Springfield and said, "Hey, I'm going to run Rahm Emanuel's campaign. Come to Chicago and work for me." And I was like, I don't know anything much. I was 25 years old. And he said, "No, I want you to work." So that's how I ended up in Chicago, working for Mayor Emanuel's first campaign as his field director. At 25, I was running all the field for Chicago, the organizing efforts. And he won, and we got an opportunity to go into the mayor's office, and I loved it. I did work that's called government affairs, which another completely different career that I didn't know existed. And actually companies hire you to work with elected officials and to help pass their agendas. And just the same in the mayor's office, I was hired to work with city council members. We have 50 city council members here in Chicago, so it's pretty big. But I was there to work with them and help get their agendas passed along with the mayors. And so I did that for a while, and left Mayor Emanuel, worked for Senator Durbin and helped run his election in 2014. And then I kind of opened my own consulting firm after that, and did my own thing for a little bit until Mayor Emanuel called me back in 2016 to be a legislative director. So at age 30, I was the second woman, first person of color to run Mayor Emanuel's legislative director for Springfield, DC, and Chicago legislative agenda. But that was 2016. And like a lot of folks and a lot of women, 2016, Hillary Clinton lost, which I was a supporter. I was really happy to see a woman going for the White House. And that kind of changed me of thinking, we need more women in office, and why not raise my hand? Susana Mendoza, who was a city clerk before me, actually won statewide as our comptroller now. And so there was an opening, and Mayor Emanuel was able to appoint, and then I would run 2 years later. So I raised my hand and I told the mayor all the reasons why I think I would do a great job and why I was qualified. And he picked me, and then I was approved by city council after that 50-0 vote approval. So I came into office, and then it was a whirlwind. So I was 31 when I was, or 32 when I was appointed, and been hitting the ground ever since. So as a city clerk's office, what do? We are the transparency and openness of the city council. So we run every city council meeting. We archive all the ordinances. Operationally, we also do a vehicle city sticker, which is a city sticker in your car window that you have to have. I think Granite has it too, to drive in the city of Chicago. We bring in about $130 million every year, and that funds 10 different departments. So those we help repair the roads with that money, fill potholes, all of that. So I have about 100 employees, and walking in as a 32-year-old woman coming in was very interesting, because I had people here that worked here longer than I had been alive. But it's been great. It's been a really fun role. I'm really passionate about young people. So we created a mock city council with Chicago Public School high school students every year. They come in and we train them on how to make policy, how to debate, kind of have a mock city council meeting with them. I'm a big believer in women and girls and young people, and I created a working group on the status of women and girls on how to close the gender gap here in Chicago. So we've done that. I've also spearheaded fines and fees reform. So ensuring that when we're raising fines and fees here in Chicago, that it's not on the backs of our most vulnerable community members. So ensuring there were people that were going into debt with not being able to pay some of the fines and fees that we had in the city of Chicago, parking tickets, city sticker tickets, all these other things. So I'm helping reform that measure now with the mayor. And we're getting ready to modernize our city council operations. We're going to go completely electronic. We're going to stream city council meetings online and committee meetings. We're going to have electronic voting. We're going to go from stacks of paper to actual digital. And so that's really exciting. And I think the best thing about my job is creating my own agenda. For so long, I've worked for others that had their own agendas, and mostly men. And now I can create my own agenda that works for people. And I have a platform to do good. And I like to share that platform with other people. I love being out in the community and hearing people's stories and what they need and trying to connect them to resources, and be a bridge builder. So that's kind of I know I gave you a long version of how I got here, but I think it's important to know the context of, how I kind of became city clerk too.
And I can tell you're very, very passionate about what you do, and I hope some of our young people watching this video will see that. Let's talk a little bit about young people, as you mentioned that in the last question, and I want to talk a little bit about women in particular. You've continued to empower young women. Speaking with Miss Ames, just so those young women can achieve whatever they want to, similar to someone like yourself. And you've been a big advocate of women's rights in your career. Has that kind of been one of the cornerstones of your career so far?
Yes, and I love to give back to young people, and particularly young women and girls, because in the political and government field, there weren't a lot of us. And I feel like that's what's missing. And I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity to be at the table to help make decisions too, and have that confidence to ask for that internship, ask for someone to help mentor you, ask for those opportunities. I think that ingrained, especially talking to my husband, he has no problem with confidence, self-confidence, asking for things he believes he's qualified for or wants to do. And so, yes, I think that's like definitely something that is something like my North Star of, why am I doing this work? And when I look back at my legacy, what do I see? And I hope it's young people have had opportunities, whether working in my office, interning in my office. I do a lot of coffees. I do a lot of now Zoom coffees with young people, whether they're, college students or high school students, whoever asks to get on my calendar, I try to make it a point to give 15 minutes. And when you come and get those 15 minutes, make sure you have your questions ready. Make sure, you have a pen and paper to take notes and ask for what you need, whether it's connecting to someone in my network or connecting to another opportunity, because I think that's important. I have been given so much. I have been given so many opportunities. I've been given so many people in my life that have invested in me, taken a chance on me, that it only feels right to do the same for someone else. And I think if all of us can do that in our own little way in this world, to show some kindness to other people, to show empathy and compassion for other folks, that they're not looking for a hand out, they're looking for a hand up. And if you can be that hand that reaches back and pulls people up, I think we'd have a lot less, problems and issues here in this country. So that's my life's mission, is when I look back in my life, who were the people that I was able to have a small or large impact on our life for the better. And so that's really, what drives me.
Let's switch gears here. My last question for you. Let's talk a little bit about your family. You and your husband, Riyadh, had your first child in April, Rihanna. Talk about the experience of being a mother. I'm sure that has been, obviously it's been different with COVID, but talk about that experience of being a mother now.
It's really, I didn't know how much it would change me going through it. I have so much respect for my mother. I always tell her, my sister and I are a year and 11 days apart. And I'm like, how did you do it? We were basically twins. And she's like, I don't even remember. We just did it. Because she was a working mother too. My dad worked as well. And so I don't know how they managed it, but they did. And I just have one. And, I have so much respect for, moms, whether they work or even if they're at home, stay at home, because that's a full-time job too. And my heart really goes out to the parents that are remote learning and trying to work from home, because it's impossible. You feel like you're set up to fail. And I remember trying to come back from my maternity leave and come back to the office here. And it was like impossible. And, we don't have family. My husband's from Ohio. My parents are still in Granite. So we don't have family here. And with COVID, it was very challenging. Luckily, childcare opened back up and we were able to get our daughter into childcare, which is a life-saving. But now it's motivated me even more to ensure I'm helping families. I'm helping moms, and specifically even moms, because no one really has that conversation about postpartum, or the physical aspects of how long it takes to bounce back, or the mental aspects of especially during COVID, about leaving your children, or not feeling like you're doing both right, being able to be a mom and being able to work and support your family. And I have a husband, and my husband said this last night. He's like, the dog came up on my lap because she doesn't get to have a lot of love lately. And he's like, the dog loves you, the baby loves you, and I love you. How do you manage? You give so much to all of us. And like, I have a big heart. So luckily it's easy for me, but I know that there are moms out there that are struggling. And I want to make sure that in my public life, as much as I can, what are policies that I can change that can help working families, or advocate for, more paid leave for mom and dads. Like the fact that a lot, here in the city of Chicago, we only had, I think it's 4 weeks if you have a natural birth, and 6 weeks if you have a C-section. That is not enough time to have off to fully recover from, major surgery or major hospital stay, right? And dads too should also, that's critical time that they can spend with their family. And I've seen that during COVID, with Rihanna and I home more and work from home, we have been able to spend more time with Rihanna. And just think about how much that could add value to families that would have more time at that critical moment of the first 3 months of the baby's life. And then, flex time for moms. Can we think about more of a flexible schedule? People didn't think we could work remote until now. So now going back into the new normal, is there an opportunity for companies and other places to allow moms or even dads to work from home maybe 1 day a week, so that they can spend time with their family, or they can and have that family unit time, or having the flex time that they can go to the recital or go to things and not feeling guilty that they're missing out on work. So I think for me, it's really opened my eyes even more to what it means to support our families as a country and as a state. And I'm more fired up to do more of that when we come out of COVID, and how do we ensure that there's really good policies and infrastructure that can help support women working, women at home, and families to thrive.
Well, Anna, I wanted to first of all thank you very much for taking time. I know you have a very busy schedule, and I appreciate you coming on to talk during our alumni spotlight to our family and our friends and our students of Granite City, Illinois. We honestly really look forward to following your career. You're doing so many great things for the city of Chicago and for the state of Illinois, and look forward to following those moving on.
Thank you, Chris. This is so nice to talk to you. And if there are any young people that are watching, or parents that have teenagers or college students, I'm always happy to be there, whether it's through Zoom. Now that we have Zoom, we don't have to, be in physical proximity. But if anyone wants to talk about government, or going into politics, or campaigning, or anything like that, I'm always happy to share my experience and help open those doors. So I appreciate you spotlighting me, Chris, and I hope you and your family stay safe and have a really wonderful holiday.
Yeah, thank you, Anna, and happy holidays to you and your family. Enjoy that first Christmas with Rihanna.
I will. Thank you, Chris.